Welcome to the Hop Edition podcast, brought to you in association with the Malt Miller, your go-to choice for premium homebrewing ingredients and equipment. Whether you're a beginner starting out or an experienced brewer, the Malt Miller has got you covered. So for top quality products and customer service, jump over to themaltmiller.co.uk and tell them the Hop Edition sent you. We would also like to thank all our Patreons for their continued support with running and developing the pod. If you would like to become a member and gain access to exclusive perks and benefits, head over to patreon.com/the Hop Edition. Now it's time to get this pod started, so crack open a homebrew and enjoy the episode. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Hop Edition, the podcast where we obsess over the science, the art and the occasional madness of homebrewing. Today, we are leaving the safe and predictable world of pale ales, crisp lagers, and those kind of slightly more generic styles far behind, venturing into the fire and the smoke, because 2026 feels like the year of the smoked beer. Our guest today, as you can probably work out for those who are watching live, is Rob from our partner sponsor, the Malt Miller, who's been on the podcast before, so some of you may well have seen him on here before, and you might have met him out at various homebrewing sort of events and things like that, like maybe even the national homebrewing competition that's just gone, where Rob was doing a bit of judging that he was telling us about earlier. So we have talked a little bit in the past about smoked beers, and I think we might even have talked to Rob about smoked beers a little bit when he's been on previously. So we're going to be kind of skipping the very basic kind of what is a Rausch beer and all that sort of stuff, and getting right into the slightly more in-depth discussion of things like the differences between different types of smoked malt in terms of the different wood that can be used, how you can manage things like phenolic compounds that might be generated through that process, how to scale your grist percentages, how to balance robust flavors so you end up with a complex beer instead of a liquid ashtray, which you probably want to avoid. So whether we're aiming for a subtle wisp of smoke in a classic porter or going full-on Bamberg style with your latest lager, Rob is here to drop some serious actionable knowledge to help you elevate your smoked beer game. Speaking of Rob, before we get started, we've got to do our little plug for the Malt Miller. So, as always, make sure you go and check out the Malt Miller, your premier supplier of all things homebrew, and in this case, a really good range of smoked malts that might come in handy after you've watched this episode. So, for that and all your other homebrew needs, especially if you want to pick up some of those specialty malts, check them out at themaltmiller.co.uk, and while you're there, make sure you have a look at the Hop Edition recipe section, where you can find a range of beers that are featured on the podcast. Maybe at some point we might even try to get a smoked beer recipe up on there from one of the beers that we're drinking tonight. We'll see how it goes, but I'm sure you've got some smoked beers on there as kits already, Rob, haven't you, that you've probably put together yourself?
Yeah, we've definitely got a few, mate. Yeah, we've definitely got a few.
Excellent. And how are you today anyway, Rob?
I'm all good, yeah. That plug was very eloquently read. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Excellent. So yeah, we're going to be drinking a series of smoked beers tonight, and they're all homebrewed beers that we've got. So we've got a few from Andy, a few from Owen, and we've got one from Rob as well. I haven't brewed any, so I didn't contribute to this one at all, which is probably why through a slight bit of karma I didn't end up getting Andy's one because of Royal Mail doing me over. But yeah, I'll fight through anyway. So yeah, hopefully some of you out there listening have got a few smoked beers yourself that you've bought, so you can kind of join in with the general vibe. But otherwise, we're just going to be kind of talking through these beers, maybe having a look at sort of recipe breakdowns and the techniques and processes that you might want to be using when you are looking at brewing a smoked beer of whatever sort of style you fancy putting some of that smoky flavor into. So Rob, why do you like smoked beers so much?
I think it comes a little bit from smoked food. So I've been into like barbecue and smoking for a long time, and actually
I was into barbecuing and smoking right before I was into beer, so it's kind of that flavour sort of carried on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really where it comes from. It's just such an individual flavour to have in a beer. It stands out completely and utterly away from anything else.
Yeah, it's definitely totally different. It reminds me of like smoked malts, like because I kind of whiskey side of things, and that's what I was like chasing after the smokiness from that. And then when I started getting into like smoked beers, it was just like, oh, I really love it, sort of thing, you know. Because a lot of people, it's like a Marmite thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's definitely like more on this. I would say on the end of the scale of being, I don't know, less appreciated, I would say,
Yeah.
by beer aficionados and homebrewers alike.
Well,
Rob,
sorry, Owen. We put up a post on Facebook, and we already got not in these woods sort of thing, you know, not in this part, you know.
some people are scared of the smoked beer.
It's okay. Andy slapped that straight down, though, didn't you, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I told him to stick to the Werry kits.
that's a bit naughty. Oh, bless. Rob, do you remember your first smoked beer? And do you remember what it was?
Funnily enough, I was just thinking about that today, actually, in prep for this, and I think it was probably Smog Rocket.
Oh, great beer that was.
Yeah, Smog
its
Rocket
time,
from
wasn't it?
Beavertown back like really early. So I think I looked it up. Actually, that beer was released in 2011.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah,
it.
so-
I'm
yeah.
not sure I ever drank it though.
Yeah, really, a really good beer. Actually, really not high levels of smoke, so it like appealed to more people, I guess. Much more approachable, but I think that's what really did it.
Yeah. That's some
Then-
interesting kind of core beers back in the day, didn't they, Beavertown? Because Smog Rocket was kind of one of the ones that they were putting out, and a smoked porter was very unusual, you know, at that sort of time.
Yeah.
They had a rye IPA as well, 8 Ball rye IPA. That was a good beer as well.
Was this pre them
Oh, it would have been.
selling out to Heineken?
Yeah.
Oh
of
yes,
course.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because then once you get your core, they just want to produce core en masse, isn't it?
Yeah.
Also, the beers
Tried and
beers
tested.
used to be quite chunky as well, didn't they? Like a lot of their beers were quite high ABV. I've just googled Smog Rocket just to see if I can find a recipe, and lo and behold, there is a clone kit on the Malt Miller
There you go.
called Smoking Spaceships, which is a Smog Rocket clone all grain kit. So if you're keen on brewing that, go and check out that clone kit recipe on the maltmiller.co.uk.
Nice.
That clone actually works really well. In fact, I believe that was one of James Stiff's really early homebrew attempts,
Right.
which he did a really good job of. That was a really nice beer.
Nice. I mean, looking at the ingredients, it looks like there's a lot. It's quite a complex grist going on.
Is it?
There is 9 different malts in it.
Doorstep says back in the day,
Yeah.
Beavertown were still
Lance,
attached to
with some of the
barbecue.
context there on that one, that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. That would make sense, though, to go with barbecue food as well, wouldn't it? Because, I mean, right now, yeah, I could go like a bacon roll or something with this.
As soon as I had a sip of this beer, I was like, "Oh, where's the cheese board? Like, I want
Bacon.
some,
Yeah.
you know, sort of smoked cheddar as well to go with it or something."
See,
great
that's
idea.
what I love about the Beechwood smoked malt is you get that like bacon vibes.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
pure.
Yeah, it's nice. I like that. I remember we've talked about this in the past, but LCBF last year, it was which brewery was it? Tricky, remind me.
Colonel?
It was the lager brewery that we've had in the
Oh,
podcast.
sorry,
Big.
Braybrook.
And not big,
Braybrook.
Braybrook, yeah.
Yeah.
Braybrook had
That was great.
That was amazing. Like,
That was one of the
standout
beers of the
beers
day, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, beer of the day for the festival. I smashed way too much of that. That was incredible, and they managed to get it like really light as well. Whereas
really good beer.
It was, wasn't it? It was very, very good, but proper bacon vibes going on that beer. So we are going to start with. So we've got 4 beers to drink tonight. We've got my Rausch beer, which we're going to start out with, which I actually put into the UK National Homebrew Competition recently. So we talk a bit about the feedback on the beer as well. Andy's made a Märzen, a smoked Märzen, which we're going to get into second. Then we're going to tackle Rob's smoked lager, which is 6.3%, which is part of the reason why we put it a little bit later into the podcast. And then we're going to up it ever so slightly and finish on Andy's Broken Dreams, the Siren Broken Dream clone, which is at 6.4%, which is like a smoked coffee.
Yeah, like milk.
Porter,
yeah, it's got lactose, but it's only 3.7% smoked malt. But the way it all comes through and it blends through, it comes out really nice.
Yeah, nice, very good. But before we get into that, we thought we'd just do a bit of very brief background in terms of historical styling of the beer. We talk a bit about smoked beer origins that. In actual fact, prior to the invention of the drum roaster, a majority of beers, particularly in Northern Europe, would have a smoky taste because of the way that traditionally they would have dried malted barley over open fires, so the smoke's penetrating through, so beers would have traditionally been smoky. That's kind of disappeared, but almost stayed within certain regional and historical styles. Obviously, the obvious one is Bamberg, in terms of the Rausch beer, which is a German style. There's also a Polish style called Piogrodzki, which is known as the Polish champagne, which is a very low ABV, light smoked beer. Which, if you've never had one, I'd highly recommend sourcing one, finding it, because it's really excellent. It's very
I've
nice.
never had one of those. Sounds interesting. I'm glad you were reading that for the pronunciation as well, Owen. I was looking at that thinking,
you're welcome.
Oh,
I'm not sure if I butchered
that could
it
get
or
mangled.
not,
Yeah, I don't know if we've got any Polish people in the chat, but
invariably I will have mispronounced that, absolutely, without a doubt. I've actually had a homebrewed version. There was a Polish chap that came along to our homebrew club and brought one along, which was amazing.
nice.
I think traditionally they use oak smoked malt.
Oak smoked wheat.
Oak smoked wheat, yes, because I think it is a predominantly wheat-based beer.
That's interesting.
It's right there in the notes. Oak smoked wheat malt.
Yep.
Turns out I just can't read. I can pronounce Polish words, but I just can't read. There's also, and this is a style I haven't had, I'd love to hear it if you guys have, which is the Lichtenheiner, which is similar to a Berliner Weiss, so it's a sour beer, a low ABV sour beer, but it's made with smoked malt. Which sounds pretty weird. Then you're getting into proper weird territory. Has anyone had a Lichtenheiner?
I haven't, but I've got to say I do slightly recoil in horror when the words smoked and sour come together, based on some previous
Don't judge
experience.
it till you tried it. True.
Yeah, it sounds. I think that sounds amazing.
I'm scared.
Have you tried one, Rob?
No, and I'd love to try one, but that doesn't immediately jump at me off the page with yes, I can't wait to try one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but did someone not enter one into the UK National this year? I think they might have.
May have done. If they did, I was really disappointed if I didn't try. I didn't try it. So
Yeah.
because that would have been an opportunity.
I might have dreamt it, to be fair, but and I think just sort of finally, your classic Nordic farmhouse ale, so all your Kveik style farmhouse ales, typically they would have been drying their own malt, and typically those might have also been kind of smoky. And then we've got some of the more kind of modern adaptations of smoked beer when we start getting into probably more American craft, is the smoked porter, or the smoked imperial stout or stout. And then we've also got the peated wee heavy. And we'll probably get on to talking a bit about peat malt at some point in a bit. But that pretty much takes us kind of just very briefly through the atypical kind of smoked beer styles that are out there. Is there any I've forgotten? Is there any others that didn't emerge from the research?
I think so.
Silence is golden.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think about this Rausch beer that I've made?
It's stunning. I really like it. I think
Yeah, I think it's absolutely delicious. Normally, I'm not anti-smoke beers, but normally with a sort of, Schlenkler or something like that, I'd be taking it a lot more slowly than I am drinking this. This seems to be very quaffable as far as my previous experience with Rausch beers go. So I think it's delicious, and I actually really like the level of smoke in it.
Yeah,
for my taste.
I really like the fact that it tastes like a lager. It's although it's got that smoke in it, it's still crisp and drinkable and relatively light body, and you could smash out. Well, I could smash out a few of these. It's
I absolutely agree.
Real good
100%.
drinking beer.
You can tell it's got a really. I presume this is a sort of Märzen style base recipe that you've got there, because it's got that. Yeah, you can tell there's like a really good Märzen kind of beer underneath the smokiness as well.
It's exactly that trick.
Props to you, Owen.
The inspiration for this beer was actually just to clone Schlenkerla.
Oh wow! Okay.
That's what I was aiming to do. So it was their classic Schlenkerla Märzen. I fermented it with WHC hopping pills, so it's the kind of Märzen yeast. I've still got some kicking around in the fridge.
Lucky boy.
Why WHC discontinued that yeast, so we'll never know. But because it is a fantastic yeast,
a rare breed now.
I double decocted this beer as well. So it was a long brew day. It's 70% Weimar Rausch malt.
Wow. Okay. So it's plenty.
So a decent wedge. 23% Bark Vienna malt from Weimar. 5.3% Cara Munich 2, and 1.4% Carafa Special 3, which is predominantly going to be adding the colour.
Caramel.
Yeah, because obviously you don't typically want to be carrying like any kind of roast flavour into this beer style. I used Hallertau Hersbrucker at 60 minutes and 30 minutes. But I'm actually really pleased with the fermentation on this beer. I think it's come out super clean. I took a fair bit of time fermenting this beer. So I think it was in the FV for a month, probably, across kind of primary, into secondary, into lagering. Quite a bit of chloride, actually. Chloride ratio was 3-1. There or thereabouts, so 100 parts chloride. Just try and sort of boost that maltiness in the beer.
30 sodium. Yeah.
37 sodium.
Yeah. That's was it the Up the Hill Hellas? I think that's the one Adam. Roughly, that's the same sort of water profile you recommended, and I think it works amazing, like for this sort of style.
I think I just selected the Oktoberfest Märzen style
Did
on
you?
Brewfather.
Right, okay.
Yeah, which sounds like it's pretty similar.
Yeah.
The decoction was, I mashed it at 65 for 45 minutes, then decocted up to 70 degrees. I sat it at 70 degrees for 30 minutes, and then decocted again up to mash out at 76 degrees. So that's pretty much the ins and outs of the recipe. Do you want to know some of the feedback that I got
Yeah,
from the
go for
UK
it so we
National?
can disagree with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So
I'm genuinely, before you read any of it out, I'm I can maybe see if they're going to criticize it on not being quite as smoky as a full-on Rausch beer, that I could see that. But other than that, genuinely not wanting to, I'm not trying to sort of, blow smoke up your ass. I can't pick out anything wrong with that at all. In fact, I think it's an extremely well brewed beer, mate. So, yeah.
Thank
Now
you very much.
tell us what the experts think.
So I've scored a 31 and a 35 to score 33 overall.
Okay.
In short, I think they did mention that there's a relatively low smoke aroma over a low malt aroma. They both mentioned about the clean fermentation. Apparently there's light haze on it. Not sure there is, but I don't know how it might have come out of the bottle, to be fair. They mentioned low smoke, giving way to a slightly astringent malt flavour. Mars and character, no hop, clean fermentation, medium to high IBUs. So there was just a stringency called out. Which I got pretty punished on. So, yeah, that was pretty much the summary of the first feedback sheet. I also got diacetyl. Slightly clovey phenolics.
Okay.
Kind of, they did call out that it's maybe a little bit too sweet. But I think that's probably the perception of sweetness coming from the decoction. It's mentioned, just sort of with strained smokiness. Finish is a bit too sweet.
Has the beer changed since you sent that to the comp, Owen?
No, I think the smoke.
Did you provide any bottles to try that you'd sent for the competition?
I didn't. No, I didn't. Which is always the thing, right? With competitions, you never quite kind of know what it's.
Yeah, we do have
come
to
out
sort of say like
on the day.
Things may have changed in transit, So.
It does. That's just the nature of it, really. But overall, I was sort of generally pleased with the scoring. But I think coming back to a conversation we kind of had prior to going live with Rob is just about we talked a bit about this with fine ales, is that palate shock. And I think if you're judging smoked beers, I think odds are that once you pass the first beer, everything else might end up that you get adjusted to the smoke level. So I think there's a chance that, like, if you've got a really smoky beer, then the next beer is they're going to perceive that as being less smoky.
Yeah.
So I think that's the bit that might just be.
Have you ever judged
to...
smoked beers, Rob, in a competition? What's if you have you got any insight onto that, or what you've seen?
No, I haven't, and I can fully imagine it's got to be one of the most difficult styles to judge, because of the reasons that Owen's just talked about. That's a really tricky one. You've got a flight of beers in front of you, or 10 different smoked beers that are random. You don't know what they are. You don't know whether the first one that you try is going to be absolutely, complete and utter smoke bomb, and then how's everything else going to taste, after that. That's a really tricky one.
Yeah, if somebody throws in like 100% sort of smoked malt Rausch beer, and you get that first up in the flight, that's going to throw your palate out, isn't it? A bit, surely.
It is, and also I read the BJCP guidelines, and it can go from low to moderate smoke to very heavy smoke. So
Yeah.
the fact that it's low smoke doesn't necessarily mean that it's out. Well, it doesn't mean that it's out of style guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, if they give you that sort of window for the prominence of the smoke, I struggle. Even with that idea that maybe they had a really smoky one beforehand, I still struggle to see how you couldn't say that that's like at worst sort of low, moderate smoke aroma and flavour, because it's banging out the glass to me. I don't know. But
I wonder what you're up against. Are you up against the guys from the international homebrewers that are actually smoking their own malts, and then it's about the malt game sort of thing, and that's why we're kind of comparing with those, and then they're like, well, these are absolutely insane with the amount of aroma and taste that they're getting from it.
Possibly. I mean, we could probably.
I agree with Teddy. With a window that wide, it should be how the smoke complements the base beer, which.
Yeah, good point. We could probably, hypothesize about what all the potential things might be, but it is what it is. I think credit to Lance Blackman, who got a third place with his Rausch beer. I think that was a Rausch beer.
Yeah, nice work.
And I think second place was also a Rausch beer. So this was the wood and smoke table. I think first place was a specialty wood-aged beer. So I think it sounds like it was a barrel-aged barley wine. So I thought I'd give Lance a quick shout out, because that's obviously some quality brewing to place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think if I was to remake the beer, I'm not really sure what it would change, to be honest. Maybe up the smoke malt and reduce the Vienna.
Well, for me, it depends whether you're rebrewing it for the purpose of competition or whether you're rebrewing it for drinking, because I'd keep it exactly as it is for drinking.
Yeah.
Obviously, for the competition, you might go, well, I need to crank it up a bit. I don't know what you guys think, but...
Just a couple of points. I don't want to. I'm not calling out the judges in the competition, because obviously that is, as we've just said, that's a really tricky one to. It's a really tricky one to judge in a beer competition, and now we're just drinking it singly on its own, not in a flight of similar beers, which is a very, very different experience.
Yeah.
But as a drinking beer, it's absolutely great. Really nice beer.
Yeah.
I do wonder, secondly, I do wonder about decocting the smoked malt and what effect that has. Because for a beer that's got 70% smoked malt in it, I would expect there to be more of a smoked character with that. So I wonder whether something in a decoction can. Well, I don't know. I don't know, because I've not done it. But it's an interesting experiment.
Yeah, I think we'll probably talk a bit later about how I think smoke character in a beer is quite a volatile compound. It's quite volatile in terms of the aroma and the flavour. So you're probably onto something there, Rob, in terms of whether decocting it would drive off some of those volatile compounds and potentially mute the smokiness. So maybe that's what I would do differently next time. Might just be to not decoct the beer and then sort of see how it comes out then. Would certainly make for a easier brew day. I'm not gonna lie, but nice. I think that those have disappeared. The beer's disappeared pretty quick, isn't
It's
it?
definitely going down very quickly, mate. We've touched a little bit there on the impact potentially that maybe people smoking their own malt or different types of smoked malt might have. But let's get into that a bit, because we can talk about this certainly in the context of what Rob has actually got on offer over at the Malt Miller for us to buy. So
Yeah.
The traditional sort of smoked malt is Beechwood, right, Rob? That's the kind of the sort of default one for sort of Rauch malt. Is that correct?
Yeah, indeed it is, and that's the environment product.
Yeah.
But also Best Malts also do a beech smoked malt, and it's amazing how different it is. How it's the Best Malts product is far more smoked ham, bacon. It's much stronger than the environment product.
So you need to actually watch what percentages you use of both, because it sounds like the environment one, you can go all in with that. You could even go 100% and still make a great beer, I would imagine. Whereas the best malts, I take it you would want to then kind of tone that one back then, or how have you found that?
It depends how much you like smoked beer, but
100%.
I have made a beer with 95% smoked, the Best Malt smoked, and that was a smoky beer, but absolutely delicious. For my palate, it was absolutely delicious. So it is a stronger flavour, but it's also a totally different flavour as well. And then more recently, they've released a cherry wood smoked, which again has a different profile. I've not actually managed to use that in a beer yet.
Is that Best Malts or Wehrmann? Sorry, that one.
Best Malts, that is.
Best Malts. Cool.
Yeah. It's a Best Malts product.
So it's an oft debated sort of thing in certainly in barbecue as to how much of an impact different sort of woods have in terms of smoke flavor. Where do you see that from the brewing point of view? Do you think it's potentially sort of more like obvious or still quite subtle, or depends?
No, I think that the difference it makes is in intensity rather than any type of flavor difference.
Yes, yeah.
So I think, and I feel the same in barbecue food as well.
Yeah, that's kind of I'm far from the most experienced of users in terms of smoking wood for barbecue or beers, but from my limited experience, it seems like it's more about that wood is going to be really smoky and that one's going to be more subtle, rather than it's going to taste of fruit or something, right?
Yeah, I don't get this sweet smoke versus. Yeah, it just
so would cherry wood be lighter then, rather than
like I said, I've not managed to use the Best Malts cherry smoked malt yet, but yes, it definitely comes across as a slightly less. It's definitely less hammy. It's more on the more aromatic side, closer actually to the Wehrmann product, which is a more gentle aromatic product.
Yeah, because that ties up with the notes that we've got. It says it's a sweet and fruity and more intense smoke profile compared to Beechwood.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool.
Well, I did the smart thing and put my order in at the Malt Miller for some Rauch malt ahead of the podcast.
Did you see Brett did it as well? His got delivered.
Degenerates are like, you'll be clearing the stocks out before I know it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got in there early with the prime intention of rebrewing that beer, actually, because unsurprisingly, it seems to have evaporated quite quickly.
Funny that.
Someone keeps sneaking in the garage and drinking it, or it wasn't me.
Yeah.
Promise. No, I doubt that very much.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are we gonna get onto your Matson, Andy?
Go for it, but See, after so mine's is a different story where I was like super scared of smoked malt, and I thought, oh, I'll go small to start.
So
to
we
see
may
what...
not be able to taste anything.
I don't. Yeah, exactly.
We're in
compared
that
to...
judge's position now, where it's like, where's the smoked malt, Andy? You didn't put enough in.
Yeah, it didn't. It was like it was sprinkled. It was like this with the smoked malt. So the smoked malt on this is only 3.3% of the Rausch malt, which at this point now it's just about adding a bit of depth, I think, to the Märzen. So yeah, it's a nice Märzen, but I don't think you're gonna get like anywhere near the smoke that we just had there with the ham or anything. If you can even detect it after having Owen's beer, to be fair.
Yeah, well, that might be part of the problem. Yeah, but what was your thinking then, Andy, in terms of going so low? Were you just...
Yeah, well, it was about layering. So there's like, what have I got? Right, I'll go through the recipe. So I've got 35% of Vienna malt, 21% of Munich 1, 20% of crisp light Munich. I've got 8%, what do you call it, pale malt. I've got 5.8 of Cara. I've got 4% Melanoidin. There's 3%, then 3.3% of the smoked malt. Then there's 1% of Cara Munich 2 and 1% of Cara Munich 3. So it's all about layering of malts, I think, with this one.
All right.
So yeah. I do not think you'll pick up anything after that.
Yeah, I'm probably struggling to pick up any real smoke note, but
Exactly.
but I am smelling a very nice beer. Like,
it's a nice Märzen.
getting that nice meadow hop character, coupled with some really nice brown bread. Honey on brown bread. Smells great, Andy.
I think they could possibly really highlight the problem that judging this style of beer can possibly have.
Yeah.
Well, it's not even that. It's just, for me, it's like, if you're getting into it, it's like, how much smoked malt do you actually use? Because you hear horror stories of people putting in, like small amounts, and then it's too much, and then it's like, well, what is that then? Is that the oak smoked malt? Is it the cherry wood that you're putting in, or is it the peated? What one's overpowering, or is it, with these beers actually you just need to, because that's been the story. See, in the Discord chat, a lot of people are like, oh, it's not enough smoked malt, and then so we started off with your zone, and it's like you put it in a comp and it's not enough, so it's. Yeah, it kind of you worry about how much you put in, but it's, I think with the Rausch malt, the environment stuff, you go all in, basically as your base, rather than it's a that between 3 and 5% addition type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so, Andy. I think if you're entering into a competition, that's slightly different. I think if you're trying to brew a Rausch beer to style, then you're obviously going to be using a lot of smoked malt. But obviously it does illustrate how, like, I think the way that you've attempted to use it is not with the intention of making a smoked beer. It's actually to have used smoked malt in a way that just may add just another dimension to a Märzen.
Yeah.
That might just add a little twist.
Yeah.
Which is obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just with a very different purpose in mind.
Yeah, but if you're going to use it, then you want to get a hint of it. So at what point do you need to up that to? Would that probably be about 20% maybe to start getting something from it,
What do you think, Rob? What have you experimented with different percentages of smoked malt? Do you know what the tipping point is before you start perceiving it?
I think it's 20% before you start really. It tastes where it's a flavour.
Yeah.
35% is a smoked beer.
Yeah.
But there is another dimension that really needs thinking about, and that is once you crush that smoked malt, the time in which you use it after you've crushed it, more than pretty much any other malt, that smoke flavour is degrading.
Oh, interesting.
Oh, so you're better off buying it whole.
Without a doubt, yeah. Well, it's more consistent. It's more consistent if you buy it whole, and then crush it yourself.
That makes a lot of sense in terms of Owen saying before about it being quite volatile. So obviously, crush it, open up the surface area.
Yeah,
it's floating away.
Yeah,
oh, wow.
And we've also had. I don't know how consistent it is coming from the maltsters either. So, just how within a batch, how consistent they can make it from batch to batch. There's absolutely bound to be variances between batches. Vireman, I've actually had a tour of the Vireman facility, but the one bit they won't show you is where they do the smoke malt.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Is it that sort of under wraps that it's
It's just
literally you can't even see in there?
Yeah, we had a tour of the whole maltings, but the only bit we weren't allowed into was the where they produce the smoke malt.
The smokehouse. Yeah, interesting. Do you reckon? Obviously, that's kind of industry secret, proprietary knowledge, whatever. Do you reckon they're doing it quite traditionally, Rob? If you had to take a punt, do you think they're doing it traditionally over open fires, or do you think they might be using more industrial kitchen type smokers?
Or they're doing it on a big scale. So
yeah,
I can't imagine they're doing it over fires, simply because of you can imagine that in a modern
health and safety.
Yeah, get that through the risk assessment.
mechanics.
It's going to light a massive bonfire in the middle of the malting, so fingers crossed, it should be all right.
Fair dues.
Yeah, so there's going to have to definitely be a which, if they've got some sort of process like that, you would think that being able to get consistency would be more achievable than, like you say, lighting a fire underneath them.
Presumably that was during your trip to Bamberg a few years back. Reiki actually sent me a few photos.
Oh, really?
Over there. I feel like I'm going to have to get them up on screen now quickly. You can see from these how much Rob was enjoying the smoked beers, actually, I think.
I dread to think what photos he sent them.
They're not that bad, to be fair.
Thank you, Reiki.
Hang on, I've got to see if I can actually get the right screen up. Where's it gone? There we go. Obviously enjoying that beer.
Yeah, that's in Sri Lanka. So, yeah, just an amusing story. So I sat in Sri Lanka with absolutely having an amazing time, drinking 3 or 4 pints in there, soaking up the atmosphere and the beer, and he nursed a single pint.
That was what he told me. He's like, it's not my thing, so I just drank a Helles for like an hour and a half.
Yeah, Reiki's not a fan, is he?
No.
Yeah. More pictures of Rob enjoying that beer there. And look at that. That's presumably the building from the outside, but
if you've not been to Bamberg, even if like smoked beer is not your thing, I'd absolutely thoroughly recommend that you go there. like 14th century buildings and an awful lot of breweries within a very small location that you can walk around. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah. Oh, another nice looking interior shot there. Look at that.
Oh, mate, look at that building.
Like you're inside a castle or something.
That's amazing.
Yeah, there's places all over that are like that. It's an incredible place.
Yeah. Fun fact, I've probably mentioned this many times before. Bedford is twinned with Bamberg.
Fun fact.
Bedford has a little bit of brewing history, but I don't think it's quite on the same level as Bamberg, to be fair. But we do have a German beer festival that comes across, so they've just sort of restarted, and they will turn up with the Schlenkler beers and all of that, and move into the local sort of theatre space and use that, which is cool.
So Bamberg is kind of mid-east Germany, north of Nuremberg.
Yeah.
East of Frankfurt.
Does that count as Bavaria? Or
It is Bavaria, yeah.
It is Bavaria.
Is it Bavaria?
Yeah, it's about. I think it's about a 2-hour train ride from Nuremberg.
Yeah, I mean it's a long way north of Munich. But seeing those photos makes me think I'd really quite like to go to Bamberg. So Rob, you were saying that so it's the Schlenkerla tap room and the brewery.
Yeah.
They're based in Bamberg. Is there other Rausch beer breweries in Bamberg, or is it just Schlenkerla?
No, famously there's Speciale as well. I think it's called Speciale or Speciale. Unfortunately, when we went, that was actually closed. So the one that obviously we went to was Schlenkler. But yeah, there's not only smoked malt central there, although obviously you will find a lot of that. There's also other breweries there. Heron's one of them, and the name escapes me, but there's another really. If Reiki's on the chat, he'll be able to let me know. But it's brewery central, and they're all within walking distance. It's a really great place to visit.
Oh, brilliant! Well, that's going on the list. I'll still maintain that we need a Hop Edition trip to Germany at some point.
It's being mentioned in the chat quite a lot right now.
And I reckon there might be a few Patreons coming, and that's an open invite to you too, Rob.
Just
fantastic.
Well, I think it might have to be Munich, because it would be absolutely rude to not go to what's the wheat beer brewery outside of Munich?
Andex.
Yeah, I mean it'd be rude not to go to Andex, right? Because that's supposed to be amazing. I'm fairly sure Lance went there not too long ago. I mean, Lance is a great beer tourist. Yeah. Often jealous of seeing all of his jaunts around the world.
Yeah, actually, they just said in the chat. So it's Marsbrau and it's Kiesman. So those two breweries are basically opposite each other. So you can.
I was going to say Mars something, because that's the place that Braybrook always talk about in terms of where they sort of went to kind of learn their craft sort of thing, which is quite cool.
Yeah, the Keller beer that you drink in the tap room at Marsbrau is absolutely awesome experience.
Awesome.
Research trip.
Yeah, who's the nominated trip organizer?
I know. Come on.
I'll get it sorted.
Owen seems like a good admin guy for that sort of thing, doesn't he?
Yes.
Oh, I love organising stuff.
Not me with the dementia. He wouldn't want that.
No, I mean you can't even turn up to planning meetings.
There would be no flight. It would just turn up at the airport, no tickets.
It's
Should
just
be
been
getting
this week,
pissed in
Chicky.
Sorry,
spoons in
Yeah.
Gatwick Airport for a weekend.
The
was
Alzheimer's
that
this
tricky.
week's been bad.
It's been bad.
Yeah, well.
Blame the kids. Sleep deprivation.
That's it.
So we've obviously been talking a bit about the various malts. We've touched on Beechwood malt, which I think we talked about. Obviously, Weimann Rausch beer malt. Is it Rausch malt? Is that what it's
Rausch.
called? Yeah, which has got. You were talking about how it's kind of a slightly more subtle, more aromatic, a little bit of bacon going on in that. And then Best Malt also do a Rausch malt, which tends to be a bit more higher intensity towards the bacon vibe. So more beech. What's going on? We've obviously got Cherrywood smoked malt as well. Is it just Best Malts that do that, Rob?
No, no. There's malts in the States that do Cherrywood. It's a very popular malt in the States, or a popular smoked malt in the States.
Is
Is
it
it
Breeze?
Breeze
No.
or Bryce?
It's Breeze, yes,
Yeah.
that do that. And that's why you get a lot of Cherrywood smoked malts there, because obviously the malt's relatively easy to get hold of.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then there's also oak smoked malt, which is commonly wheat malt.
isn't
That's also a Weimann product, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So the
Much,
sorry, go on, Rob.
much lower intensity.
Ah.
Yeah.
Much lower intensity. Actually, Lab did a homebrew competition for the Polish smoked beer that we got in for them specially, so that it was like a really fresh product, so that they could buy it, so that for the competition entrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
And actually, this is where we first started on the idea that it really makes a difference how fresh the smoked malt is to the intensity of it.
Yeah, that would make sense. Sort of playing back into that kind of volatility of the smoke in the malt.
Yeah, and I think actually with the oak smoked wheat, because it's less intense anyway, it makes much more of a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. So we're thinking that from the research that we've done also, that what you're going to typically get from an oat smoked malt is going to be a slightly earthier, slightly more, to state the obvious, woodsy character. But also potentially with some hints of vanilla or honey. Is that kind of your experience, Rob? Or are we getting a little bit too deep there?
My nose can't pick it out.
No, fair dues.
Yeah.
Maybe scrap the idea of vanilla and honey.
Well, you think, well, vanilla and honey you might just get from the malt. In a sense, like it's
might
like
do.
how's oak? Because oak will give vanilla in a whiskey, right?
Yeah,
When you put it in the barrel, but like when you try to put that into a beer or smoking, the wheat, then it's will it transfer or what? Yeah.
I think there's a lot of processes in between that, isn't it? It's kind of like there's an assumption that the vanilla you get from oak transfers to the malt from burning it, then making a beer out of the malt. It's kind of like yeah, not too sure. I think AI might have been daydreaming on that front. And then finally, I'm pretty keen to pick your brains, Rob, on peat smoked malt. A divisive, shall we say, character of the malt world. What's your thoughts on peat smoked malt?
I think it plays no place in beer whatsoever.
Fair.
That's fair. Play,
Take it you don't sell a lot of it then, Rob.
That's not up to me. But it's not a traditionally it's not a malt that was used in beer. I think it's a relatively new thing if it is used in beer. I think it's way too abrasive to use. You can smell it at in fact,
it's full on chlorophenolic kind of
yeah
aroma and flavour, isn't it? I mean, it's not. Yeah.
Is it?
I've only seen it in beers that other people have made where they brought some going, oh, I put peat smoked malt into this, and I went, great.
And you've got 5 gallons of that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's wrong. But it's where we've talked about this Marmite thing with smoked beers. That's not for me at all. It's far too phenolic.
Is that when you run it through a still?
Maybe.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do that, Andy.
I don't know.
No, we wouldn't do that.
know.
That's not legal. We might be inclined to make hand sanitizer at home, but not spirit for drinking.
It's not something we've got in it.
Just to cover that off for legal reasons. So peat smoked malt. I mean, we've sort of gone, well, look, if you're going to use it, you've got to use it very, very sparingly. If you're going to be brave enough to put it into a beer, and our recommendation would be using it in no more than 2 to 5% of the malt bill. Even 5% is probably too much. And you'd question as to whether you'd even bother reflecting on all of the other amazing smoked malt products that are available that are more than likely going to give you a much nicer outcome. That said, I guess maybe there might be a few niche scenarios where you might think about using peat malt, such as like you're going for a Scotch whiskey style imperial stout, for instance.
Yeah, barrel aged thing or something.
Yeah, you're almost trying to emulate a barrel aged impression in a beer.
Yeah.
Maybe you might want to think about using that. I've never used it. I'm not sure I know anyone that's used it. Do you stock peat malt, Rob?
We do for. Yeah. Yes, we do, but not generally for making beer. I mean, I really think it's just got.
Yeah.
For me, it's got no place in a beer. I mean, if people want to put it in a beer, that's their choice. But if they want that peated whiskey vibe in a like a barrel aged stout, for example, I would using chunks. Stave chunks would be a way better way of doing it rather than peat smoked malt.
Yeah. So like taking some staves from a whiskey barrel, maybe soaking that in a bit of whiskey, putting that in the beer, aging the beer on that. Yeah.
But see, as homebrewers, we don't need to do that, do we? We can just put get a bottle of big peat and just put a little bit of big peat in. I mean, there's nothing stopping us, is there? From the drinking standpoint.
Yeah.
Well, the great thing about homebrews is we can brew the beer that we want to drink. That's fine.
We can do whatever we bloody like.
Exactly. Yes.
The beauty of the hobby, for sure.
I think Dan mentioned that Dan Y on the Origins. He says that as homebrewers we can do that. Whereas as commercial brewers, that's not allowed, and that's why they have to go through the whole process of putting them in whiskey casks and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
He had a name for it though.
Mm-hmm. He said grogging, wasn't it?
Was it grogging? Yeah.
Grogging. Yeah.
Yeah.
He said, we're not allowed to grog. You guys can grog.
Yeah, that was an issue with the duty, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, because you can't calculate how much alcohol's in it, because
Yeah.
it makes it quite tricky.
It's coming back to me now. I remember
Vaguely
Yeah.
coming back to. I think you had a cold, didn't you, mate? To be fair,
I did, yes,
We'll let you
yes.
off on that, but
To be fair, that may have played into the last couple of weeks of dementia as well. So
yeah, fair
still
point.
got the cough.
Fair point. Rob, what's your an estimate? How many batches of smoked beer do you reckon you've tackled in your time?
Yeah, there's been a fair few. I think actually, as a style goes, it's been my most revisited. It's been my most revisited beer.
Yeah,
I really like it in a dark beer. Just going back to the Smog Rocket, that was I brewed quite a few batches that weren't, I wouldn't say were clones of that, but they were definitely inspired by that. I've always liked dark beers and dark beers with a touch or heavy smoke. I absolutely adore. So yeah, it's been a few.
I've just cracked his bottle. Oh my word! It is
Oh, okay. You've got
smoking.
it. So you've
Is that Rob's beer we're getting
Popped
into?
it
Yes.
first.
Oh wow! Right.
Well,
Okay, so
ruined the surprise.
I didn't brew that beer for competition. I brewed that beer because it's a beer that I would hopefully, because it's a completely new recipe. I brewed it for me, and that's what I like.
Oh.
Well, Rob,
Baby.
we really appreciate you sending us some, and I especially appreciate the fact that you sent me not one,
Yeah.
but two of them,
Yeah.
which is lovely because then I'll get to enjoy it a whole
It's a
time
big
again.
beer. It's a chewy beer.
Oh.
Is it? Yeah, I'm looking for. I'm still just on the last few gulps of this medicine from Andy, which, by the way, we haven't really talked about.
No, sorry.
It's
But-
not a smoked beer.
It's
It
not
really
a smoked
isn't.
beer, but
Uh-uh.
Andy, I'm really impressed with this medicine. It's very,
It's
very
a lovely
pleasant,
medicine.
so,
Yeah. Nice.
but
drink.
it does raise a good talking point in terms of sort of maybe using that little hint of smoked malt to add a depth of flavour to stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
do you think there's something in that from that beer? I can't say
think-
because I haven't drunk it.
I think
You'll
the
get
I
it
was
reason-
drinking
tomorrow.
Owen's one
think
instead.
I think it just adds a little bit of character to the backbone of the beer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Almost, you can't notice it, but it does just kind of enhance that maltiness almost. I think. It's an interesting experiment. I really enjoyed that beer, Andy. It was really well made. Really clean fermentation on the beer. So thanks for sharing that. That was lovely.
Cool.
I think first and
you.
foremost, it's a really, really well made beer.
Yeah.
Really clean, drinkable, presents really well in a glass. I've really enjoyed drinking it.
No diacetyl rest. It's a utopian method, so it's low and slow crash, natural fermentation, spunded. So it's few points at the end, and then it's slow crash all the way down to about 6 degrees. So it's that method.
Nice.
And it's Einstein yeast as well. So that was the first of my Einstein yeasts because I'd switched from hop and pills. So yeah, it worked. Super clean. No, I don't know. Did you pick up any diacetyl?
I didn't
No.
know, and I'd say I'm fairly sensitive to that to diacetyl. I think the experience is you make a beer with a lot of diacetyl in it, you suddenly know what diacetyl tastes like and smells like. I didn't pick up any in there. No, I didn't pick up any flaws in the beer.
So yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a really enjoyable beer.
I'll
I'd happily
give you
smash
my feedback tomorrow.
3 or 4 of
Yeah.
those. Oh yeah, Tricky's beers didn't arrive. Thanks, special
It's all right.
delivery.
I was drinking,
Yeah,
Royal Mail.
drinking your dark lager that was very
Was
nice,
it-
Owen. So
Yeah. So was it Wednesday? They picked up Wednesday, special delivery, and then
special delivery guaranteed by 1
and then
p.m. the
Rob
following
and
day,
Owen
right?
probably got
Yeah.
they got yours on Thursday, and then Tricky we checked this morning, and it was still sitting in Glasgow for whatever reason.
Oh.
Had literally only just been checked in at Glasgow sorting office.
So it sat for
Useless,
2 days in
useless
Glasgow.
fuckers.
Absolutely.
And they were all together. Like, how did
Well, that's
that
the weird
happen?
thing. It's like, you know, somebody's just obviously dropped it in a corner somewhere and gone, oops,
Yeah. Oops.
that one's not going.
But tomorrow.
But anyway, yeah, I can enjoy it at my leisure over the weekend. We've got next section sort of talking about the option for sort of home smoking, which we've very briefly mentioned already. But I've had a little tip off that we should also ask you, Rob, about your sort of in-house malt smoking that you've done as a sort of special sort of service for a couple of breweries, including Torside and Northern Monk. So, yeah, how does that work, Rob, when you do that at the Malt Miller?
I find this absolutely fascinating. In fact, I find that the smoking of the malt almost as interesting as making smoked beers. It's just, yeah, the different. Obviously, you've got full option to use whatever base malt you want for smoking. So, back when my dad was alive, he built some baskets for us, that stainless steel perforated baskets that fit in our smoker, so we can smoke a 25 kilo sack of malt in one go, cold smoke it in our we've got like a Pro Q smoker with a Pro Q cold smoke generator. I don't know if you're familiar with those.
Yeah, I've
got the one with the circle?
got
Yeah,
one
both
of
of
those
those
little
things.
spiral things.
Oh, yeah, I've got that.
Exactly. So we've got 3 baskets in a smoker with the cold smoke generator at the bottom, and as it's smoking, we can alternate the baskets, so you get like an equal level of smoke between the baskets, and we smoke it for. It's funny because I was reading your notes about how to do home smoking, and I think it takes a lot longer than is suggested on the notes. So we
really?
3 hours.
we smoke it for a couple of days.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. But interestingly, because we're obviously packaging the malt and then sending it off, rather than using it straight away, we can't wet the malt. So we smoke the malt completely dry. So that it would take a little while longer for the smoke to sort of penetrate the malt.
So
Yeah, 1 to 3 hours is very short, even in terms of food, though, isn't it? To be fair, like you can maybe get away with that with like a cheese or something, but not so much for like meat or anything like that.
Yeah,
generally.
Because you've done a fair bit of smoking, haven't you, Tricky, with the nuts and stuff like that, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah. So, like I've done like bacon and cheese and nuts and things like
Salmon?
that.
You done
Salmon?
salmon?
Yeah, I have done a side of salmon before.
And how long
That
do
was
they normally
amazing,
take?
actually. To be fair, I mean, sort of nuts and stuff like that is, you know, more surface area kind of, and that sort of stuff, and doesn't need to be sort of heavily smoked. That can be done in a few hours, but I don't think there's anything really that I would do it as short as 1 to 3 hours. To be fair,
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'd
mostly it'd be 12
normally
minimum,
go
pretty much.
12 to 18,
Yeah,
probably, for a bit of bacon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. So
And I guess with the grain, yeah, it's got lots of surface area, but it's also, there's always going to be a sort of bed aspect to it, isn't there? So you kind of need to be moving it around a bit to try and
yeah. So each time we move the trays around, we also move the malt around as well, because
give it a little sort of
the bottom and even though there's
shuffle about or whatever.
Yeah, exactly that.
Nice.
One thing that I did pick up from the notes was, and it's true to what we do, is once you've smoked the malt, it's really important we put it all back into one bag and amalgamate it all, and then eat it for a good few days, so that it can I don't want to use the word condition as such, but it does. It kind of like the flavour amalgamates.
It's
Yeah,
almost
smooths
more
it
like
out.
distribution than
Yeah,
kind of conditioning, isn't it? You just want it to sort of spread out a bit. And again, I think that volatility is kind of moving about sort of in stuff. It's the same with food again, you know.
yeah,
Your bacon will be very smoky on the outside initially. It's not going to necessarily be smoky, like consistent flavour all the way through.
yeah.
If you start eating it day one. So
Yeah, I've noticed the same thing with doing smoked salmon, and you almost need to give it 2 or 3 days just in the fridge, like vacuum pack it and then leave it for 2 or 3
Alright,
days
okay.
just to kind of
Yeah.
settle down and figure itself out. Yeah, that's really interesting. So I think probably the biggest hurdle to kind of smoking malt yourself is probably finding that, like you said, the trays that your dad made you, Rob, and kind of finding something to be able to put the malt in that's not going to obviously going to fall immediately through grates or whatever. I'd love to have a go, but
Yeah.
I guess you could, in theory, just use some baking trays, right? You could just spread it out on baking trays, maybe.
Yeah, you could. Although much better would be like a nylon hop sock or a grain bag.
Yeah.
Oh, wow,
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've
That
got a
would be
few of those
absolutely
kicking
ideal.
about.
Yeah,
Could you even hang them in theory, like in the Pro Q? Because I think you can get some hooks, can't you? Just sort of potentially hang the bags.
yeah. Well, you could. I would probably just like knot them either end and then put them across the grates.
yeah, you
Yeah.
probably want to lay them flat across the
Yeah, lay them
grid
flat
to
across the
try and get
grates.
them as spread out as possible.
Yeah, that's true.
Need a
And that should be
sacrificial
nice and
grain
easy
bag.
because you can then just like pick them up, give them a shake, put them
Yeah.
back in.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, those
One
sort of
thing you-
like plastic trays you get in dehydrating things would be good. I imagine if you could, you know, use something like that. But then they would stink of smoke and be ruined for the sake of doing anything else, I suppose. But
That's what I'm thinking. The sacrificial
Yeah,
grain bag
exactly.
as well, innit? So you would need to have you need to buy a grain, one of those
Dedicated
go in
grain
a
bags.
bag, yeah,
Yeah.
for smoking. Because for me, it'd be in the Kamado, and then so you would put your smoker thing at the bottom,
Yeah.
and then have the shelf, and then put the big grain bag maybe on on a
Yeah.
grate, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think the great thing about cold smoking is there's
No
in the
heat,
name,
is there?
very little heat generated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can even use, like, you see people converting filing cabinets. You can even use a cardboard box.
oh, you just
Well,
have to have an
you have to
enclosed vessel.
Yeah,
Literally, just an enclosed vessel.
Exactly that, right? As long as you're careful about where the actual smoker sits on, as long as you sit it on something that's, non-flammable, it's relatively safe to just kind of sit there and produce smoke. It's not generating a huge amount of heat. So you could get very inventive about how you might do that.
So what malt would you use though? That would, do you?
Well, I mean, the only obvious choice, Andy, and I can't believe you're even asking this question, is
Maris
Weimann Floor Malted Bohemian Pilsner. It's clearly the obvious choice.
We've used all sorts. And you mentioned a few of the breweries. For breweries, we've done. We actually did Red X. Was one of the malts that we smoked. I didn't manage to brew with the smoked Red X, but that went off to a brewery. But yeah, I mean, literally, that's why it's so good to be smoking the malts at home, because the world's your oyster. You can literally do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what I was saying, Maris because that just seems the most maddest kind of thing you
Why
just
not?
wouldn't be able to get, Yeah, why not?
Yeah, I
Super
could see
brandy.
Marisotto working. Depends on what beer style you're gonna aim to make, right? I mean, most smoked beers are either dark or they're lagers, right? But what's to say you couldn't make a smoked bitter? Would it work?
Well, coming back to the
Why
historical
not?
context,
It
they all would have been at one point, wouldn't they?
They-
Ales
they
would have
would
all
have.
had an element of smoke to them, so
Yeah.
Well done, Shaky.
why not?
Fair point. But then you
Yeah.
wouldn't have had pale bitters, right?
Well, they would have been darker ales,
They would
yeah,
have been
generally.
darker ales generally.
But that's
Yeah.
the thing, the sort of idea of kind of like a craft smoked porter. It's like, well, the old school ones were all smoked, it's not or smoky to an extent.
I'm gonna
one
make
point.
a smoked Nipah.
That might be pushing the boundaries a little bit too far.
Yeah. Why not? Test it out.
Yeah.
Testing the boundaries of homebrewing.
Please
Yes.
don't.
I'm not going to do that, by the way.
Nah, no.
I'm still waiting for Chris's All Magnum Nipah.
It's the beer that will take the craft beer world by storm.
It never materialised.
Funny that.
Shame. So yeah, we've talked a bit about. I want to talk about Rob's beer.
Yeah,
I was going
me
to say,
too.
have we had a
Insane.
rundown from Rob of what the...
Yeah, we haven't yet. Talk
No.
Go on,
through it,
Rob. Tell us what
Go
this
on.
beer is all about.
Okay, so I was going for like a big Marzen, basically. So let's give you the grain
Bonfire.
bill.
I feel like I've been at a bonfire, that's for sure.
Because
It's so good.
Eating smoky sausages.
It's a smoky beer. Yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the difference. This is why I was talking about the difference between the best malts product and the Fireman product. Because they're both beached with smoked malts, but they are very.
Is this the
very
best? Is this best malts then in this one?
best malts? Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
yeah. Because
I
I mean,
was
I
wondering.
totally get where you're coming from on that
Yeah.
comparison now.
It's way more hammy, bacony kind
Oh,
of that
full on.
that
Yeah.
kind of smoke. So it is 50% the smoke malt. It's actually 45% Red X.
So it's not actually as much smoked malt as Owen had in his beer.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
mad.
and it's like double smoke.
I mean,
Yeah.
coming back to the sort of comparison to the food thing, it's like the hammy bacon like intensity on this is like the slice out of on the outside edge of a freshly smoked bacon. Like when you're kind of like, I'm just gonna throw that little bit there in the pan just to see what it tastes
Yeah.
like.
It's like I've
wow,
went
the
to
smoke's
Lidl.
really intense.
It's almost
Lidl
like
smoked
Yeah.
sausage, isn't it?
you've just smoked a pork butt. You know,
Yeah,
and
crispy
you're
bits
having-
off the outside.
Yeah, you're having a few of those little nibbles whilst you shred it. I really like it. It's definitely got a much more prominent, like bonfire note than the Rausch. I think.
Fireman, yeah.
It's hard to describe because I very nearly just went. It's got very much more prominent smoky character, which doesn't really tell you anything, right?
So is that it's just Red X and Rausch malt?
5% wheat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Got a
5%
bit
wheat.
ahead. Wow.
Yeah.
I really like it, Rob. I mean, I'm a big smoked beer fan,
Stunning.
and that's absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that I'm getting to try the best malt
Yeah.
Rausch
Yeah.
malt, because I was kind of intrigued when you were describing it earlier, and the fact that we're now getting to try it. I can really appreciate the difference between those malts.
Yeah.
So
Are you-
now
are
I
you-
kind of know how I might want to proceed with maybe using one or the other.
Oh, and can you put in a change to your order to put some best
Well,
malts in it instead of
I
the
mean,
Fireman?
Rob would be pleased to know I can always make another order.
Yeah.
But have you ever tried blending the two, Rob?
No, that's not
No?
something that I've done, and actually, that could be a really interesting. Experiment.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I might have a little go at that actually. So see, you almost getting best of both worlds there. But yeah, really nice beer, Rob. Very, very well crafted, sir.
I probably wouldn't give it to someone if it's the first ever smoked beer they've tried.
I would 100% go with
100%.
try
Yeah,
Owen's
yeah.
one first. Have that.
Ah,
You know, well, have
gateway.
Bandy's first, and then build up to Owen's, and then Rob's
The
a few weeks
gateway
down the
smoked
line.
beer. I mean, my own experience with smoked beers, I remember having someone say, you know, have you ever had a smoked beer? No, you should try Schlenkerla. And trying Schlenkerla for the first time. And it may have even been on one of the podcasts live. No, tell a lie.
We did. No, we did. No, Owen, we did do a German drink along, and I'm sure that's when I had Schlenkerla as well. Like,
Yeah.
that was the first smoked, and I was like, yes, because like I was so used to smoked whiskies, and then I was like, and a beer, yes,
Yeah.
this is so good.
It's
So
great.
yeah.
I don't think that was the first time. I think the first time I had it was at a homebrew club. But I remember having it on the podcast the second time, having a whole bottle of it and being like, wow, this is quite intense. It's very different. But then I remember having it the second and third time and get to a point where I'm like, this is actually really drinkable. Once you get past that,
like
3-4 sips,
I'm not sure I've quite got to that point with Schlenkerla, but
I think
what
it's
you're
actually
saying.
a really refreshing beer.
no, but I
style.
think what Rob said very early on was quite true. Like, you have to get past that first sip, don't you? Where it's like, oh my god, ashtray sort of thing, and then initially after that, it you start to taste the beer that's kind of behind it, and go, it's a smoky Märzen or what, you know, whatever is actually sitting there in the background. So
I can see why people don't get on with it.
Yeah, they're weak.
Well, there is maybe that, Andy. Yeah. I think it's probably the same reason why people don't get on with mixed firm beers, you know, or even sour beers to some degree, where they go, something in their mind goes, this isn't beer.
It's got to be a much easier sell to people who have stood for hours next to a like smoker or a barbecue, gradually just absorbing that smoke flavour and sort of going, oh, I stink of this smoke and everything that I can taste now. It tastes of smoke, and oh, now I've got a beer that tastes of smoke as well. Excellent. So
Yeah, true. But as I was saying, I think for some people, like, you get too far out of the mental concept of what they accept as beer, and it becomes difficult to grasp. And I think if you can get over that acceptance of what beer can be, and smoked beer I'd probably put into that category of, like, you need to just kind of accept that is different, that is still beer and it's okay to enjoy. You can then, it's a bit of an acquired taste. I think once you've acquired that taste, personally, I think it's, and also acquired tastes are always, in my view, the finest tastes. I think once you've acquired a taste for coffee, for instance, it's hard. You have to acquire that, but once you have, it's like, coffee's the best thing in the world.
Oh, well, that was like
You know?
whiskey. No,
I've
but
been
whiskey's
trying
the
to
same.
acquire
Same
that
with
taste my whole
whiskey.
life, Owen, and it's still not worked.
Same with olives. Olives, I think, is one of those things you
Really?
have to acquire in the
Yeah,
main.
it took
But
Matthew
once you
about 3 or
do,
4 times.
Fucking love
I hear
olives. You know?
He kept thinking it was grapes, and then it was like, oh no, I love olives now.
Rob, have you managed to convert people to smoked beers? Have you been like a champion for them within your team at the Malt Miller?
Well, Reiki's my pet project.
And fresh in the chat.
Yeah.
like,
So he keeps trying them, not like by choice.
And-
It's because
and actually-
Rob just keeps going, drink that.
it's
You
like
will
trying-
like it eventually.
it's like trying to convert your mate to. It's like trying to convert your best mate to Christianity.
I'm not sure it's that difficult.
Oh, yeah.
Luckily, Andy isn't an evangelist, so we don't have to put up with that.
Feel the pain.
Andy's been trying for a while. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just happy he's not in church tomorrow. So
True.
Happy days. Oh, bear in mind he's got
Sunday,
a session
Sunday.
plans.
Not
for
fucking
No,
tomorrow.
Steaming
I'm not
while he's
in
up on the
Sunday.
balcony.
That's what it is because I've got my cask. I've got my cask brew day tomorrow. Well, no cask brew day. It's my cask drinking day. I've got a cask of Jarl.
Oh,
down
so
there.
you're writing off church this week then?
Yeah. So the boys are coming over tomorrow.
Sorry,
We've
God.
got a pin.
Jesus can wait this week.
Yeah,
Beer
we've
comes
got a
I've
pin.
got some yarn on.
Yeah, first ever cast I've done in the house. It's got the peg in it, everything. It's all tapped, ready to pour tomorrow. Boys are coming over. I've got burgers. I've got doing pizza as well tomorrow night. So burgers for lunch, pizza at dinner.
I
And
mean,
they're staying
if ever
over.
there's been a
And
reason
that's-
to damn your eternal soul there, Andy, that's it.
It's-
So,
Tomorrow's
Andy-
going to be epic.
Andy, Jesus still loves you. Okay.
Oh,
It's
and then
alright.
there's smoked bacon as well for Sunday mornings. So we're all good.
All right. Yeah. Great. You ought to have that with smoked beer.
Oh yeah. Well, there's another one of Rob's, so I'll be able to do 3 glasses between the 3 of us,
Hair
and
of
we
the
can
dog.
try it out. That's it.
Yeah, why not?
With the bacon on Sunday morning.
well, I don't
That-
know. I'm not sure about a smoked beer as a hair of the dog beer. To be fair, that might be a bit
That
much.
might be a bit
Oh,
brutal.
did you the hair of the dog? The worst one I had last weekend. I was down in Newcastle, and so we had a full day out. We were away to see the football at Newcastle, and then next morning we went to Spoonies for breakfast, and so you know muffins, sausage muffin, egg, that thing, and the big man Stuart, he gets 3 pints of Budweiser at 9 o'clock in the morning to get over the hair of the
good
dog.
God.
It was like, how can you choose the worst possible lager on the bar? Oh, that was painful. Yeah.
I hope
There
you
go.
slapped him.
Yeah. Ah, brutal. There you go.
Any naked antics whilst you're in Newcastle, Andy?
Of course.
Yeah, standard.
Well, they're just trying to blend in with the locals there.
Oh. There was 4 lads sharing a room, so
All right. Four
Anyway,
drunk,
moving
four
swiftly.
drunk Scotsmen. It sounds like the start of a joke, doesn't it?
Bare ball bags everywhere.
yeah. But I drank plenty of cask. I did found Phil Saison did STF. He had some cask beers down in one of the pubs, so I had that. And then I was drinking Landlord. There was basically I drank cask all weekend, so it was really good. So yeah,
Amazing. Yeah,
It was good.
you were telling me about.
Queen UK Brown as well.
You were telling me about the STF beers you found on cask. If our listeners haven't tuned into the STF episode, I highly recommend you do so, and also check out STF. They're a
Yeah.
Scottish craft brewer, and most interestingly, actually about them is they condition their beers in can. Which is really interesting. I'm not sure I've probably heard of
conditioned.
anyone else that does that. And it makes for an interesting beer, and I've really enjoyed some of their beers, so definitely worth checking those guys out.
Yep. Yeah, it's because I think Phil's thing, he really liked Kernel, didn't he? That was his kind of inspiration. So the kind of bottle condition sort of
Yeah,
thing.
he talks about that a lot on the pod, didn't he? So
Yeah.
Bottle conditioning, but doing can. I mean, it's a bit high risk, I guess, but
it's a bit more
slightly
obvious
wrong
when
and
they
you-
start inflating.
yeah, you have inflated or exploding cans, which is probably not ideal. But
But I think he keeps them, doesn't he? He does condition them on site to make sure that they're fully conditioned before he
Yeah.
actually sends it out
Yeah.
to the bottle shops and stuff. So
yeah, you can mitigate that risk, can't
Yeah,
you?
to be
Yeah.
fair, I think it's just treat with
warming.
caution and go lower level
Yeah.
than what you might do for a force carb. So
That's it.
we need to move on to our key takeaways for making great smoked beer. I think is that right? Have we heard enough about Rob's beer? Rob's disappeared, so
Well,
we have to move on from his beer. So
I'm really enjoying it. I'm very nearly all the way through it. We've still got the.
I mean, I was kind of feeling sort of a little bit ruthless about the judges' feedback on your beer, Owen, and then
they had this.
In hindsight, I'm kind of like, if I'd drunk this first and then had your beer, I would have kind of been going, I'm searching for the smoke on this. Like, you know, it's a nice beer, but
it's not enough bacon.
Yeah.
That said, I still stick by the fact that I think that all of the off flavors that they were calling out were bullshit. Because I think other than that, it was a totally clean and very well brewed beer.
That's a standard homebrew composition, isn't it?
Well, yes, I know, and that's we've well, myself, I have moaned about that many times. I feel like it's a kind of let's see who can find the most off flavors competition amongst the judges rather than can we you know. Yeah.
I don't know. We've done a comp ourselves, and you know what it's like when the bottles turn up. And I mean, we did ours height in the summer, and it was like, I mean, God, it was like
I think that was a extreme end of the spectrum kind of thing because of
it was hazy. There was a lot of hazies, and in the summer
that situation, it was like the worst time of year to be sending beers that were of that style and literally in the middle of a heat wave. Yeah, terrible.
The ones that fared the best were the ones that probably get dropped off.
Yeah, I think temperature has an enormous impact to the quality of beer. I mean,
it's just an accelerant. If there's anything wrong with it, temperature is going to make it go wrong faster. So you know, whether that be oxidation or you know, contamination or whatever.
If it's stuff, if it's still a bit fermented as well,
make it deteriorate more quickly.
Yeah, and you heat it back up, then it'll referment. And breweries have that issue, especially with the dry hop, and they have like re-fermentation in bottle, can, whatever.
Yeah, and of course when you get re-fermentation, you tend to then get acetaldehyde, diacetyl, all these things that the yeast is obviously not able to clean up after itself.
In optimal conditions,
which can cause problems, and I think we saw a lot of that.
And Dan talked about it with his wild beers, where it was a case of, it's not quite right in the bottle, I'll just hold on to it for a little bit longer for it to clean up in bottle. So, yeah, that is definitely maybe different.
I guess with those types of beers, you've got that option, haven't you? To just sit on it and go, okay.
Yeah.
I can
because the bread will just
see what happens,
clean it up or
2 months down the road. But anyway, let's pull it back to key takeaways to making great smoked beer, especially as we've got Rob back in the room now.
Cool.
So yeah, do you feel that in terms of matching the wood to the beer style, Rob, is it more just about preference of smoke intensity like we were talking about before, or do you think there are certain styles that call for a specific wood that's been used for the smoking, or a particular type of smoked malt? You're muted at the moment, Rob.
I think the most important thing is that you actually try the malt and try to assess the actual level of smoke in the malt that you're actually using at the time when you're going to be using it.
Right, okay. So
I don't often advocate making a bit of a like a malt tea, but in this situation, I think that is like a really good thing to do. So if you were just to steep some in some hot water for a while, just gives you an idea of a level of smoke that you're going to be dealing with. Because I don't think that it really comes across just from the aroma of the malt.
That's a good hint. Yeah, good tip.
So I think in terms of the beer styles that we looked at earlier, I think the only one that was kind of specifically called out for a particular style was sort of oak smoked wheat for the yeah,
For the Polish smoke beer.
the Polish beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at that and going, I'm not going to try and say that now. The Polish
but
smoked beer.
Obviously, that style calls for that exact malt. It was actually that style of beer was built around that style of malt.
So I guess aside from that, as you say, just kind of taste it, see what you think is going to work, and adjust.
Yeah, I think that's really important.
Adjust for your preference more than anything.
And in an ideal situation, you would have your own mill, because milling this malt fresh into the mash tun would be absolutely ideal.
We were actually chatting I'm sure it was Discord or somewhere, we were chatting about milling, and I was like, why did you buy it whole? Because you're going to end up your mill's going to be honking of smoke, so the next one you do, it'll end up transferring. But I think we decide, it's probably the likelihood of that is not. And then you're saying the advantages of milling at home as well, as it keeps it fresh as possible as well, so that's a good point.
We have quite a process of cleaning molds, of cleaning the mills at work, because obviously we're milling different flavors, different colors, smoked malt, not smoked malt, like the whole time. So the cleanliness of the mill is massively important.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So what do you do? How do you clean a mill though?
We put the cheapest malt through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that would be it.
Just clean it out with the cheapest malt. So when we're the start of the day at Malt Miller, they will mill from light to dark.
That makes sense.
So they don't have to clean the mill between every single malt. Otherwise, you would be cleaning the mill between every single malt that you're milling.
Yeah.
How long did that take you to work out, Rob?
And then,
was there contamination? You noticed contamination in the past at the start?
that was one of the first things that was really, really important, because obviously color is going to contaminate really, really quickly. You only need the tiniest amount of roasted malt in a pale malt for it to be for it to have color transfer.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Like 2% or something, like, or even just a bit, and it will darken. Cool.
So moving on.
Well, there's a quick question. What happens to the malt that's used for cleaning the mill?
Yeah, that goes straight in the truck for the farmer.
Oh, okay.
Does it? Have you ever thought about
bonus
selling
animal
it?
feed?
Mystery malt.
Mystery malt bag.
What? Mystery malts. Now you're giving me an idea now.
It sounds a lot like
beer.
Brett's up for
Rob's
buying
mystery malt blend. It'll be like a little bit smoky, a bit dark, a bit pale, a bit
Could be anything.
fucking everything.
Yeah. Best of luck getting an EPC guide on that one.
Percentage wise, and obviously this is a moving target as well, in terms of like, depends what malt you're using and which malts you're talking about, but I think we touched on this earlier a little bit as well, but in terms of like percentage of the grist that you need to have in there for a smoked malt, like where's the lower level in terms of it actually being a beer that's going to be noticeable as a smoked beer versus something that's maybe just got a hint of it in there? Where do you think that sits? Are we talking 20%, 30%, or?
I think you said 35
upwards?
earlier, didn't you, Rob?
I said, let's look at the fireman malt. To have something that you're calling a smoked beer, I think 35% of that, 35% of that would be a smoked beer.
Yeah.
I think at 20%, you can start looking at a beer it's got a hint of smoke to it. Obviously, that depends.
If you're
what else
thinking
you're
of
putting
like
with
doing
it,
a smoked porter or something like that, where it's like it's not supposed to be a Rausch beer, but it's supposed to be a porter with a bit of smoke, do you think 15-20% would be a good starting point, and then see how you get on from there, maybe?
20.
Not as low as 15.
I would be shooting for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
so we went sort of 20% is like you're going for a hint. A third to 40% you're getting into a light smoked beer. 50 plus you're getting into proper smoked beer territory.
Well, this is a smoked beer.
Yeah. In your face, your best liked smoked beer, or your drain pour in this bad boy.
And if you're doing peat smoked malt, just set fire to it and don't even drink it.
100% peat smoked pale ale.
No.
Best of luck.
Exactly.
Where did we get to on key takeaways?
That was respect the percentages.
Oh, nice. So we're on to build a strong malt backbone. So this is an interesting one, isn't it? It's sort of talking a bit about how much you might be mindful about how much smoked malt you might use relative to the beer that you're making, the style that you're attempting to put it into. So, Rob, have you ever done like a light smoked lager? A bit like the one we had at LCBF from Braybrook.
Yeah, because that was a Hell's, wasn't it? Rather than a sort of Metzen or an amber kind of lager. So, there must be a difference, right, in terms of how you apply the smoke in that sort of...
I think that was one of the really interesting things about that beer, the fact that it was so light. I've not actually brewed one as light in colour as that. In fact, actually, I think that this is the lightest one that I've brewed. All my others have been, on the darker side.
Because this is
only because that's my personal preference, but
yeah. Because that's Red X, which is. You guys used Red X before?
I've never brewed
a long time ago. Yeah.
Because I know Stevie Burton, he talks about Red X quite a lot.
I might be wrong, but it's kind of a blend of malts rather than an actual malt variety. Is that?
It's Red X, right?
Or
okay,
am I
don't know
talking
much.
shit?
Is that right?
Rob, do you know about Red X?
Calling a friend.
Yeah. Well, the reason that I've used it is because I was at Brow in Nuremberg. It must be 10 years ago, and I visited the Best Malt stand, and they had a beer that was 95%. It was a lager, a German style lager, but 95% Red X, 5% Carapils, hopped with Mittelfrau, and it was just such a delicious drinking beer, but a beautiful colour, really malty, and that's actually where using the Red X came from on this particular beer.
Yeah, I need to look into Red X. I've never used it, and I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I'm also intrigued about trying to emulate that Braybrook beer and just making like a smoked Helles. So going like a really light lager.
Somewhat lighter.
Yeah, but I wonder I wonder if you have to restrain the smoke a little bit because it's going to be more prominent because it's not going to be carried quite as much with maybe the undertones of the more kilned malt.
You know, just go 100% Rausch malt.
Well, you could, I guess. I don't know what the EBC is on Rausch malt, and whether obviously smoking it kind of adds an extra flavour. An extra colour.
4
EBC. Okay.
So it's only at 4.
I think it's 4 or 5. It's not high.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's interesting. So it doesn't really impart a great deal of colour, even though it's smoked. So you could, in theory, just sort of make 100% Rausch beer malt lager, and it probably come out quite light.
It's going to be Hell's Pilsner territory colour-wise, isn't it? If you just
sounds like a challenge.
Oh.
Done. Taking that up.
Well, you've got
Schmocky
some
Pilsner.
coming, so you're good.
Yeah.
How many kilos did you order?
I'm up
6.
for it.
6? Oh, you're good.
6
Fine.
kilos. That should be enough to make a mid strength lager.
Yeah.
Although it was supposed to be delivered today, and DHL let me down. But there you go. Shit happens.
It's all about the quality of your local courier, isn't it, Rob? That's why you've got the choice of delivery.
Choice of options.
I've got a DHL warehouse
That's what I
about
keep
a
on
mile
saying.
away, so I'm like, yeah, I'll go with DHL. I know they'll turn up tomorrow. They do just punt it onto the doorstep and then run away, but other than that, they're quite prompt. So.
To be fair, I normally opt for the DHL option from Malt Miller, and normally it's very reliable.
DPD,
I think it's probably
DPD.
just a case of it being Friday, potentially. So we were talking about the importance of building a strong malt backbone. I think we perhaps might have kind of slightly contradict that with sort of Brayburn's interpretation of a smoked beer, in the fact that you can go with quite a light beer, but I think in majority you tend to see, particularly with the kind of beers of Bamberg, is kind of this much more robust kind of backbone of malt, typically the Metz. And I know Schlenkerla also do a smoked Helles. They do a whole series. They make a smoked wheat beer as well, don't they?
Do they?
Yeah, I saw.
Just going back to the Helles.
Yeah,
go on.
The Helles isn't smoked, right? The only reason that the Helles comes across as a smoked beer is because they're using the same kit, so it doesn't use smoked malt.
Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's cool. So they put so much smoked beer through their system that like everything's just going to taste like smoke.
Wow.
So yeah, they do a smoked. They do the Metz, and they do a wheat beer. They do a bock. They do a smoked and unfiltered beer. They do an oak smoked double bock, which would be pretty awesome. They do a red lager, a black lager, which I'm sure would be absolutely amazing. And they also do a low alcohol beer as well. And also the special editions, which is the pale lager, which perhaps is the Helles. So they do a whole range of beers.
That was the beer that Reiki was nursing in the tap room.
Oh, okay. So even though it was a Helles, it was still kind of smoked.
Yeah.
You're right. Okay, I'm with you. I think it was Liam was stocked up before the podcast, knowing it was a smoked beer podcast, and he went big on the Schlenkerla beers and had pretty much the entire range, I think. And there was a lot of beers there that I hadn't tried. I think the only Schlenkerla beer I've had is the main Märzen version, which is amazing, by the way. If you've not tried it, that's relatively easy to get hold of. It's an incredible beer, really worth having a go at. Franconian German beer is really quite enjoyable. So we've talked about the importance of building a strong malt backbone. Maybe depends what you're trying to kind of go for. If you are obviously going for that more Märzen style, obviously you're going to be introducing things like Munich, Vienna, maybe a bit of kind of caramel malt in there. I think potentially that sweetness kind of helps to carry the smoke a little bit. Might make the beer a bit more approachable. It talks a bit about our next point of advice is kind of ensuring clean fermentation. I think that's interesting, the fact that there is a beer style in Germany that is both sour and smoky. None of us have had that beer. Can't attest as to whether it's good. It's obviously popular in certain parts of Germany, but you would probably want to try and keep to a clean fermentation style beer. That's why you tend to see it a lot in lagers, as opposed to using smoked malt into, say, a Belgian beer style or a farmhouse ale style, or you're in danger of having things like esters and phenols clashing drastically with the character of smoke. So really, if you're thinking about using smoked malt in a beer, you really want to emphasize and keep to a singular focus around a smoke character, rather than confusing that with lots of other characters in the beer. So that's kind of a good bit of advice. In fact, if you kind of pair smoke with what might be like a yeast character of a Belgian beer, which might be clove or peppery, you might be at risk of kind of getting into burning plastic or bandage type territory. It might not come across in a nice way. So I think that's a bit of a warning label in terms of how you might want to interpret brewing with smoked malt. So think about using your classic lager strains, your USO 5s, your maybe some British yeast strains, which might be a bit cleaner. So that's our general advice, and keep the fermentation clean. And then the final bit of advice we've got on brewing smoked beers would be, once you do make a smoked beer, over time that volatile compound will calm down. We've talked a bit about how the malt itself can start to subdue over time. You'll find the same characteristic into the beer once you've made the beer. Over time, with conditioning, that smoke character may start to dissipate a little bit, might start to come down. So if you do make a smoked beer and you try it out the FE and you're like, wow, that's way too smoky, that's too much, don't immediately jump to sticking it down the drain. Think about sticking it in a keg and maybe conditioning it for 2 and 3 months, and revisit that beer, and you may find that it is much more approachable and potentially more what you had in mind when you embarked on making that smoked beer style. So patience is a friend potentially with this style of beer. Rob, have you ever made a beer that you felt like was too smoky?
Well, that one that I made that was 95% of the best malt smoked was definitely up there. It was definitely up there, but it had its place. You know, it's don't necessarily make beers that are for like gulping. It was a sipper, and it wasn't particularly dark either. That beer. I used some carafa to get the colour, but it wasn't in any way a roasty beer. I just think that time and place and makes a massive difference with these beers, and the amount that you've actually tried of it makes a huge difference as well. You referenced sours earlier, and I think it's a really good reference point that if it was the first one you've ever tried, you would be maybe pretty horrified. But if your palate practices, then it becomes way more acceptable and way more enjoyable. It's just something that creeps up on you.
Yeah, great advice, Rob. I think it all to do with how experienced you are, I guess, in sort of drinking that beer style. So if it's your first smoked beer, maybe go with a 20% grist. If it's your second
60,
beer, maybe go 30-40%. If you're really into smoked beer, think about 80%. And we've given you good advice as to which malts to consider kind of going for.
I think it's environment, isn't it? If you want to go low environment, see if you want absolute bacon vibes, then go best malts.
Taste.
Yeah.
Just taste what's in
Yeah.
front of you. It's really important to taste what the ingredients that you're using, and taste the beer the whole way through the process. You just learn so much by doing that.
Yeah. The tea, no, is it the hop tea, but the tea with the malt, like I actually just put it in and steep it, and then that would probably identify between, even if you got like, you know, a little bit of each sort of thing. I don't know, but you would buy maybe 5 kilos of each or something, or 2. Whatever you feel. But it's worth experimenting between the two. I mean, from tonight, drinking the both, it's like the best malts is like, holy shit, that is like proper smoky bacon.
That's
bad
in
boy.
your face.
That
Smoked sausage, hammy.
Yeah, and to see that was what 50%, like compared to Owen. What was yours, 70 or something like that, Owen?
70%, yeah.
Yeah, and it was like double. It was like insane. So if you just want to go,
that's my biggest takeaway.
Fireman,
From
go
it
fireman.
is the difference in the malts potential.
Yeah.
You know,
If you're gonna do the best malts, you cannot go all in on that bad boy, because you want to be doing 40%.
well, you can if you're Rob
40.
and you love the smoky sausage at the beer.
You like
So,
it, but and it was so good as well. It is like,
but that's the thing, horses for courses. If you're brewing it for yourself and you want that, then
5
go
gallons.
ahead.
Yeah.
That's the
I've heard Rob likes to just snack on a bowl of best malts, Rausch malt, as a little snack whilst watching a movie.
Is that true, Rob?
That is in no way true. I just made that up, but
Entirely spurious
a bit.
suggestions.
A bit of truth.
yeah, absolutely made
True,
up.
it's probably
But I, it's not out of the realm of possibility. So, Trekkie Andy, I think we're probably at the end of this podcast, which has been immensely informative and very enjoyable. If you guys want to wrap it up, I'm going to set up the after party.
Yep.
Which
Go
hopefully Rob can, although at this point Rob seems to have disappeared, but I'm sure Rob will come back and most likely join us for the after
Rob's
party.
buffering
So
right
I'll
now.
get that
So,
sorted out. If you
Yeah,
guys
it's a
wanna
bit
wrap
delay.
up the
It's
podcast.
been a bit of delay tonight.
And he's gone.
Cool.
Anyway, thanks, Rob. It's been great having you on the podcast.
We've had some technical difficulties.
Brilliant. So,
well, Andy, you go ahead.
do you want me to? Okay, well, a big thanks to Rob for his knowledge tonight. It's been an absolute amazing getting to know, actually, just a bit of dive into smoke beers, but also just the ingredients that go into it. Because for myself, I think it was quite evident. Like I was trying to be a little bit, tiptoey because I'd heard horror stories about smoked malt. So hopefully we've imparted a little bit of knowledge tonight on percentages to use and also what malts to use as well. Hopefully that kind of comes across and it gives you guys a bit of an idea to experiment, and highly recommend that you experiment as well with smoked beers. Stringkeller, is it the German one, the one with the yellow label? Give that a bash if you've never tried smoked beers before. That is probably the kind of go-to one. See if you like it or not, and then just get into it. Portals is maybe a wee shout. It's a good shout to maybe experiment with a bit of smoked malt in. Otherwise, just go all deep and go Meltson style. And what we're talking with Owen, like his sort of breakdown, and Rob's like Red X, oh my word, and the whole best malts. Wow, best malts is like if you want pure super smoky bacon, Brett. Go for it. If you're right into it, then geez, go best malts, like, and go try that Rausch malt. But yeah, very enjoyable podcast, very informative, and just to let you know that the next episode we've been doing a bit of planning in the background, so we do have a next episode. It's going to be March 20th, and we're going to do a BJCP drink along on the Commonwealth. So we will post like a drink along pack. We're going to try and create something online that we can all drink along and discuss the style of Commonwealth beers. So yeah.
What's the breakdown? It's
golden ale. It's
English
Australian sparkling ale, and it's English IPA.
English IPA. Yeah.
Our choice of distributor is very much decided by who stocks Australian and sparkling ale, and it's like one.
Yeah, I think that's
so far, unless you want to buy a case of it. So
it's kind of a weird grouping, isn't it?
Oh, it's weird.
We'll get into that in the next podcast.
Yeah,
how you've got an Australian beer style.
I feel like BJCP needs a Antipodean sort of beers section now for that.
Yeah.
Australian sparkling ale has no place really in the middle of like golden ale and English IPA.
English IPA. We'll get into that, I'm sure. Anyway, Rob, you unfortunately missed our thank yous to you joining us, imparting all your amazing knowledge. We really appreciate you joining us tonight. You've been awesome, mate, and thank you very much for the beer, which I for one really enjoyed.
Yeah, that was delicious. Cheers.
Absolutely spanked the sausage, so to speak. We're going to wrap it up there.
Nice.
Cheers.
So, Rob,
so is that episode 135 in the bag, Owen?
I'm pretty sure it is. And just a final shout out, the Google Meets link is in the YouTube chat. I will post it just about everywhere else I can. Rob, it'd be great to see you there if you can join us for a few more beers.
See you there.
Otherwise, it's time to say goodnight.
Good night.
Yeah. See you on the next one, guys. Cheers. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.